We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming, and this is the January 31st edition of the Black Girl Show. We're almost done with January. Just started off with December 2015. Our first guest is going to be Darren Ciaffarelli. We're going to have a lot of other great guests, but we're going to start off with Darren. Hello, Darren. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Yeah. I've known
Darren.
Thank you for coming. I have known Darren for a while, like 2-3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
In Facebook years, that's like 10 years or something like that, right? Right. Before we get into it, I'm gonna ask Darren, what is your favorite LA band?
Oh, you caught me off guard with that one.
You don't have to say LA band, any band.
LA band. My favorite band?
Yes.
At the moment?
Yes.
Matana Roberts.
Oh,
She's
okay.
from Chicago and New York currently. She's a jazz musician. She's doing a lot of work that incorporates jazz sounds and spoken word and archival research. And she's in the middle of like a 10-album sequence of, I don't even know how to describe it, history of the world, basically.
Yeah.
In music and spoken word, using, found texts and her own singing voice plus saxophone music stuff. That's my current obsession.
I only know who that is because I know you, and you told me about her before. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's great. But she is a very talented musician, and it's kind of like art, literary poetry, kind of like all mixed together, and music.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So you're a LA native.
I am.
Right, both Darren and I are both LA natives and Catholic school rejects. We're not rejects. We are still part of it. We embrace it.
Yeah.
You graduate. You got your master's from Cal State Northridge, and
Correct.
you went to UCLA. And you went to UC Santa Cruz.
Correct.
And all these good things. And you teach at Southwest College.
I do.
You're the English, the chair of the English department there, and we used to have a poetry reading there, which was just awesome.
It was.
How did you get into teaching?
Well, I had an English degree that I wanted to use, and I considered a couple different career paths, one of which was bartending, and the other was teaching at a community college.
Mm-hmm.
I mainly wanted to have time to write. I just felt like every other job I'd ever had was so time-consuming and draining that I would never have the energy to write or play music when I got home. So I thought I needed something with like a lower impact, and I decided that bartending would probably send me off in the wrong direction.
Wonder why.
Into the grave, probably. Yeah. So teaching seemed like a good option. I liked school. And as soon as I got my first job, which was actually at Southwest teaching, I fell in love with the students and the whole idea of just empowering people to succeed and trying to, in my own way, like be inspiring for people.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Southwest College is a college in, I guess, for the Athens area. It's actually in like South LA. It's in it's probably the highest percentage of African Americans in the community college districts in Los Angeles is probably at Southwest College. It is a school that's small, but it's mighty, and his students, Darren's students, love him very much. He's a big. You probably wonder like why Darren? I'm like, because he's like a big deal in the Southwest College, and he's a big deal in the whole English department and encouraging his students and all this kind of stuff. So I brought him here to talk about the free community college that Obama is proposing. And I mean, I kept saying it sounds like a good thing. I mean, what do you think about this?
Well, I think in general it's a good thing. I mean, any move towards increasing access for all students to attend college or higher education is inevitably a good thing, at least in its intention. I do have some questions about its implementation and who ultimately is going to benefit from it, though.
I mean, before I was going to ask one question about the standardization, but before I'm asking about standardization and all that, the thing about college is if you opened it up and you made it free, which is good, and more people started to become more competitive, do you think that, okay, yeah, it'll be free, but do you think you might have to like apply to programs? Do you think that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's there are like strings attached already. There's a minimum GPA that students have to maintain, which is 2.5. So failing a class or two one semester would render them ineligible for the free tuition. They have to be enrolled part-time, at least half-time. So for students who aren't able to do that because of family obligations or work obligations, they won't be eligible either. And it's only for 2 years, which means the student has to progress really rapidly through community college education, and most students don't finish in 2 years. So, that means that it would only benefit. Well, it's going to contribute to the effort or put pressure on the colleges to kind of streamline the whole education and force students to go through more quickly. I mean, a half-time student won't finish in 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's the minimum requirement, for enrollment to be eligible for the program. So that's problematic. And there's some vague statements in the proposal that suggest that, colleges have to adapt promising and evidence-based institutional reforms to improve student outcomes, which sounds like
the K-12 standardization, and it's going to be moving to community colleges.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, monetizing and standardizing education has been like the basis of every initiative to intervene in education, to fund it. There's always those strings attached where, a school will be rewarded if they meet certain standards. And you've seen what's happened in K through 12 education, where there's basically a script that teachers are handed to enact or whatever in the classroom, and then there's those high stakes tests that students are pressured into taking, and funding is granted to the schools that successfully teach to the test and earn high test scores. But it's a kind of a backwards situation where the schools that aren't performing well get defunded or don't earn rewards or additional funding. Instead, they're like punished by having funds removed. So, I mean, it concerns me that might happen on the community college level too, because the schools that don't perform well, who have students who are struggling, like they need the resources more than the students who, the schools who are performing well.
When I see this plan, this proposal, I think, wow, this is really good. But I think that people think it's a plan to help poor students, when actually I think this is a plan to help middle class students. It's kind of like we need for everybody to like dial it down a bit. We need for people who are middle class. I know you were used to doing the 4-year college thing, like you and I did the whole 4-year college thing, and we went and I know I had the whole dorm room experience and all that stuff. And they're like, you know what?
Don't remind me.
Yeah, don't remind me. So you know what? We need to dial it down a bit. We need to make your aspirations a little bit lower. So we're going to have people who are in the middle. They're going to go to community college now. So where does that put the poor students who don't have the resources? It's kind of like you think, oh, we're helping the students, but if the students don't have the resources, can't get out in 2 years, you're going to have a community college system that's full of just middle class prepared kids.
That's what I'm worried about, honestly, because, for instance, at LA Southwest College, it's in a low-income community, and the majority of the students there, meaning over 90% of them, are receiving some sort of financial aid. And so, for low-income students, community college is already free. And so taking away tuition or, making, complimentary tuition for all students doesn't really improve the situation of a low-income student. It just leaves them basically in the same place they already were at. It does give tuition or pay for the tuition for sort of middle-class students, or if there's any upper-class students in community college, it would pay their tuition. But they can pretty much already afford it to begin with. So, it really makes me question whether this is the best use of $60 billion for educational purposes, or or not. And it does concern me that the lower income students will, be excluded somehow from education, because nothing in the proposal really specifies like how the infrastructure is going to be strengthened in schools and stuff. I know that for most students, tuition's actually not the biggest expense. It's living expenses that they need financial aid for. California is the cheapest place to go to community college in the entire nation. It's like $46 a unit. So tuition in California annually for a full-time student is like $1,400. So it's not a deal breaker in most cases. What's expensive is rent and food. So financial aid provides for living expenses, and in Los Angeles living is really expensive. So there's a greater need to supplement, I think, financial aid for people who are struggling to pay rent and eat and feed their family than there is to just cover a $1,400 annual bill for community college enrollment.
This kind of also, it almost goes to the same thing with the programs that seem like they're helping, but maybe not so much. Just like I always found the DREAM Act problematic because it only gave amnesty, not even you can vote, but just it put you in a legal status for a few people. It would be kind of like during slavery, like we're only going to free the slaves that live in Louisiana, but everybody else, if you came from Louisiana, you could get, but then everybody else cannot. Like, how do we justify not how do we justify these programs that seem like they're helping, but in the long term they're not? Or even the DREAM Act, when it has the military component, you can go to school, finish in 2 years, and get your citizenship or get legalization, or you can go the military. And we know people who have had challenges and what choices that they have to make in order for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it remains to be seen, like, who's going to profit from this venture. And I have some concern about, who's actually going to benefit here. And I think it's generally tends to be not the people that are advertised as being the beneficiary of a program like this. And I really wonder what's going to happen and stuff. I certainly don't want to see more standardization. We're already dealing with that on the certain levels. There's these transfer associate degrees where students are, if they take a prescribed curriculum that's sort of mandated through the state, they're guaranteed admission to their local Cal State. And that's a way of standardizing the curriculum at a community college where, we have to offer the classes for that degree in order for the student to be eligible for that guaranteed admission and stuff. But, I mean, the after effect of it is that, students are kept local. Like, they don't have opportunity to go anywhere they want to go to college. They're forced, basically, to follow a prescribed curriculum and go to their local Cal State, which may not be in their best interest. And so, that keeps everybody sort of local and in their place, and it's not always a good thing, although it sounded wonderful.
No, it did. I mean, it did sound. Right? I mean, what's the point of community college? I mean, it seemed like now they're trying to make college like, well, the reason why you go to college is to get a job.
There's that too, and that's part of this initiative, right? It's to strengthen the workforce, provide greater numbers of college-educated employees of some business or corporation, and certainly we need that. But that's another thing at LA Southwest College. There's, career and tech ed is almost half of the curricular offerings and stuff. I mean, it's huge. So half the resources at our school are, given to job training basically, or job preparation, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that minimizes the amount of resources available for everybody else who may just be using community college as a stepping stone to go on to a university to study things like humanities and arts or be musicians or whatever. And it also really discourages people from going to college who just want to learn something.
And why is that? And why is that so bad to want to learn something? I mean, I want to know. I want to exactly know what exactly are these corporations and businesses doing if the colleges are training everybody to do the jobs.
Right.
I mean, what are these tax incentives for? What are all these breaks for when they seem to not be? They plan to have now. They want community colleges to train their employees for free.
Yeah, I don't see why that should be publicly funded. I mean, if a corporation wants their employees trained or taught, then they should have their human resources department do that, and pay for it themselves rather than, trying to push off the expense onto taxpayers or the state or the federal government or whatever.
And I see so many times where this tech ed in community colleges or just tech ed in a lot of colleges, you cannot train people for the future. You train people how to think, and then they're able to do things in the future. When you train people for these tasks that no longer exist, I mean, I still see not at community colleges, but I see at these different vocational eds like air conditioner, we call air conditioner repairmen and things such as that. I mean, what kind of work? What kind of America are we creating? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a big question. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, if those are low wage jobs, essentially, I mean, relative to, training people to be leaders or, to take initiative to start their own business, or to be CEOs or to be in some kind of higher paying leadership role, to think independently. I think that's some of what's getting lost, when we're just training people how to do jobs that are for another company or for the benefit of somebody else, when it's and not to say that majoring in a trade is automatically a bad thing. If that's what the person wants to do, then fine. But I mean, a lot of the career in tech ed training tends to be for relatively low-paying jobs, and it doesn't seem necessary.
I mean,
proportionally to offer classes and training and that many.
The child development is case in point. Child development. I mean, that's huge. There are so many Black women and Latinas that go into child development and get 20 units, take all that time to get paid nothing. You can't even support. I mean, there are people who are teaching assistants, paraeducators, and they have to have food stamps. That's how little they get paid, even though they go to college to do it.
Yeah, we have a wonderful child development program.
No. I'm saying it's great, but I'm saying it's not their fault that. But I mean, they don't pay them enough.
Yeah, no. The end result is not a high paying job.
No.
And so that's what community college ends up being. And I don't, there should be other ways to train people to do, low wage jobs or whatever. And it seems like college could, or a greater percentage of college resources could be devoted to training people to be, critical thinkers or leaders, independent entrepreneurs, and other types of majors that aren't simply, a low to middle income job.
Well, one thing I'm going to do is we're going to fight for universal child care so that child care workers can get paid a livable wage, because that's a beautiful profession, and to me it's a high skilled profession, but they don't get paid the money they get. So I just want to put that out there, shout that out to the child development department at Southwest College. Now we didn't mean to disparage it, because it's an important job.
I mean, the bigger problem is, those people deserve to be paid way more money because they're teaching our kids and the future and so on. Not that, people shouldn't go do that job because it doesn't pay well. It's important. Yeah.
You shouldn't be a air conditioner repairman. I think you should not do that job. But I mean, the child development, yes. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up now. Okay. What are the what can we do to help you? And at the community college level, what can we do? Like, what can we tell our politicians and our people? How can we stop propaganda of standardizing?
Well, just be watchdogs of public education. anything that includes monetizing education is usually suspect, and trying to make a profit off of educating the future workforce of America or citizens is generally not something that's ultimately beneficial to the people being educated. It's beneficial to whoever's profiting from it. So vote against that, oppose that, protest that, and beware of standardization, because not every form of education works perfectly for every single student. There has to be some variability, local variations, and options for students, because standardization just funnels people into categories and doesn't enable them in the right way that they should be as students.
Well, thank you so much, Darren. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And when does Southwest College start up?
Well, our spring semester starts a week from Monday, so whatever date that is.
A week from Monday, whatever date that is.
The 9th or something? Something like the 9th.
The 9th.
Yeah.
Okay, the 9th. So,
so there's still time to enroll. We have room if you're interested in coming down.
And I really encourage people to view Southwest College as an option. I know a lot of people want to go to Santa Monica. They want to go to like West LA. I want to go to El Camino. But the point, when you go to college and now they're trying to push you out, you'll actually graduate from Southwest College. And I think that's because you have a supportive community there. And I think that's an important thing that I think people should know. It's not about, Santa Monica's by the beach. So what? Okay, so what if you never get out, if you never graduate, if you're not supported, if the school is not social justice oriented, if the school is racist, if the school is sexist? These are all problems that you don't necessarily have as much of as Southwest College. So I think that's important to support that college, because I'll tell you something. If we don't support Southwest College will be gone. So, and that will be sad, and everybody will be very upset. But I'm telling you, support it, and that won't have to happen. So up next, we're going to have an artist. We're going to have Grrrl Gabon Brown, and but it will be right after this this break. So I'll talk to you soon. Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming with MPC Presents the Black Grrrl Show. We are on every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time on LA Talk Live. And you can see us on iTunes R&B. So up next, we have Grrrl Gabon Brown and Moza Mzari Cooper. Grrrl is an artist. Grrrl was born in Kingston, Jamaica. He has lived in the United States of America, Europe, the Caribbean, and now resides in lovely Los Angeles, California. His creative abilities were discovered at the tender age of 7, and since then he has been fulfilling his childhood dreams in the arts through the world. He believes all areas of art are connected, just as the natural elements connect and react within the world we live in. So, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much.
And you and Moza is is one of your supporters for your project, Endangered White.
Endangered White.
Yes. You know what? I was going to ask you a few questions, but I want to kind of jump to there because we have Moza here. But before that, I want to ask you both a question. Okay. what is your favorite tea?
Chamomile is my favorite tea, I would say.
What about you, Mother?
I make my own.
You make your own. Okay.
I think I want to go to that.
You want to counter that? Okay.
Yeah, because I like chamomile, you know, I mean, if I go out. But when Moses said, I make my own, I do make my own too. I
Yeah.
like an apple ginger. So you milk the apple and you milk the ginger and mix it together with honey. That's my favorite tea.
I didn't even know that was something you could do.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option. I thought you just buy it. You could buy it loose or you could buy it in a bag. Wow, I've learned something today. All right. So tell us a little bit about Endangered White.
So Endangered White actually is a project that I started when while I went back to USC, which your guest earlier talked about the community college. I also went to LACC community college and literally got my kick from there into USC. So big up for the community colleges. While I was at USC, I was awarded the McNair's Fellowship, which is a research project, and they weren't going to fund me going to Africa, which was one of the places that the crimes against people with albinism was happening. And I approached my main sponsor, CCH Pounder, and I said, I've got the scholarship, but the funding to go to Africa, where the problem is, it's not happening. And she says, we'll fundraise and we'll make this happen. And out of that, I created the title for the project, Endangered White, because I felt like people with albinism in East Africa were being endangered because they've been hunted, butchered, killed, and kidnapped, and all the different things that was bad was happening to these people. And that started officially in 2010. Yeah, and then in 2011 we did the first fundraiser hosted by Pounder Cone, CCH Pounder's Gallery, and CCH and her team.
And this is East Africa. Is this in Tanzania or just the regional area, or it's in Tanzania?
It's in Tanzania.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I know I'm very into I saw a film about the Hadza people. They're a tribe in Tanzania, and they about cooperation and getting along. And I know that these things are happening to people with albinism in East Africa. But I mean, is it a particular group of people who are doing this to people with who have albinism, or is it everyone?
Well,
I want to give a complete picture so people don't kind of even go, oh, if I'm albino when I go to Africa, this is going to happen. So I want to give a complete picture, like who is doing this, who are mutilating or discriminating against people who have albinism.
Okay, well, I'll speak from my qualitative research I've done, and then Melissa can tell you more about what she knows.
Okay.
From based on speaking with people with albinism in Tanzania,
yes,
it's considered to be villages, but now it's going into the major cities. And from what I've learned, it's mainly wealthy people with money, and it's connected a lot with politicians who are going to witch doctors, and witch doctors are commissioning poor villagers who need that kind of money to go and bring me an albino leg, arm, genitals, hair, whatever was possible that they could bring. And sometimes they just leave just the bodies there. Babies, it's the same. I'm not sure if you had seen the piece on Vicky Netetema, who brought the news to the world of what was happening, and where they take the limbs of the baby off and leave just the torso in the pool of blood and just kind of walked away. So to answer your question, is this only Tanzanian people with albinism are at risk? I think if you're in a village and you are out there and no one knows where you're from, and someone knows you're there, it's a possibility that you could be a statistic.
Okay.
I'm from Tanzania. My name is Moza Mjesiri Cooper.
Okay.
And I was born and raised in part of my younger childhood in Zanzibar.
And
then I'm here. I live in Los Angeles for a while. But what I do a lot of community programs. I have an organization called Black Arts Los Angeles, which we deal with Juneteenth programs. But Yarne is a very good friend that was introduced to me to help him with with his project Endangered White.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to meeting Yarne, I was watching 2020 with Diane Sawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and I was horrified. So I started making calls. What is going on? I grew up with people who are albinos,
Mm-hmm.
and also my aunt was married to one of albino men,
Mhm.
and nothing in Zanzibar, was dangerous or anything. But this is in the rural areas. Talking to a lot of people, I found Cameroon had those kind of atrocities taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, they do have, and in South Africa. But I'm glad that I'm helping Yarne with this research in Tanzania, which is in the deep village, not in the coastal area.
Mm-hmm.
When people goes to these doctors, they are not in the coastal, but life has changed now. People are moving out of the the deeper areas into the coastal areas, and they're doing the same thing, and it's to do with AIDS. Because they will say if you take an albino food, you won't have AIDS. If many other kinds of atrocities, which is very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that I found in my research when I was there, it was a lot of myth and superstition connected to traditions.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so people believe that they could get wealthy from with a witch doctor making some kind of portion from albino body parts,
Mm-hmm.
and that is kind of what the driver is. And then you have the market of those people who wanted to earn more wealth is going out and seeking witch doctors' assistance, and witch doctors are getting these very poor villagers who to kind of turn their back on their own family and even sold their family. There's one case that we're working on, and we hope to bring her here. It's Bibiana Mbusha
Mm-hmm.
and the Honorable Alshaima Kuger, who is the face tapped by government Kiketo in East Africa to represent people with albinism. And when I met Bibiana at 9, her own uncle sold her. Her parents had passed, and her uncle sold her, and cut her leg off and severed some of her fingers. And that really, really, really come through, touches me deeply. I called up my sponsors here, CCH Pounder and African Millennium Foundation, Millennium Root, and said, what can we do? Can we see if we could get this girl a new leg? Because now the leg that they've made her, she can't really walk, and she's now becoming of age. And to kind of just think about the fact that this is all on the back of superstition,
Mm-hmm.
and someone had paid somebody because they wanted to be more wealthier
Mm-hmm.
for this to happen. I think we need to do a re-educating, and my work came out of that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you see that, it's about superstition, but also it's about greed and power, and how can I, do these? And you wonder like where they learned this kind of activity from. And I can't wait to talk to I'm talking to someone later on, but we'll find out like why would you think to cut someone's leg off to get power from them? I mean, was this? Do you think this happened before people were colonized, or before people came to Africa, before Europeans came to Africa? Do you think people were cutting off body parts?
Well, I can also speak from the perspective or the point of view of speaking to a Dr. Luwende
Mm-hmm.
from the Oceanside Hospital in Tanzania. And what he told me is myth has always been connected. Well, I'm from Jamaica.
Yeah.
Myth is always connected to, superstition and belief and tradition. And anyone out of the diaspora will have that kind of experience, or know someone, or have some kind of knowledge of what's going on. And what he told me, there was a time when bald-headed people, I don't know if you know about this, Mosa, were being attacked and killed. And then he also told me about the Maasai. He said there is really never a Maasai person with albinism, because they would be, at birth, they would be trampled by the cow, or, they would be killed. So I don't know if you heard the same story, but that's what I learned when I was there.
No, I haven't, but I know for what I know, even though I'm from Tanzania, but like I said, I left at the age of 14, so I've been out of the country for a long time. But what he's saying, these are the things that come to us in general, you hear this kind of short stories, but coming back to myths about since colonialism, since we suffer a lot in Africa. It's because whatever we believe is deep. If you believe in Christianity, it's deep. If you believe in Islam, it's deep. If you believe in ancient religion, it's deep. You understand? So, and whatever we do, we work with, or whatever we talk, we speak with passion, and you get confused sometimes. When we talk generally. Oh, I want money. Oh, go to this doctor. Which doctor? He'll make you money. Those are the things that came after the atrocity. Really, they are just new in the world. They were not there before, because you see, they used to use animals at one point. They will sacrifice an animal. But now, with all these kind of illnesses or diseases that are around embedded in our world, in Africa, people are using witch doctors to get rid of certain things instead of going to the hospital. So that's why it is, and it has nothing to do with any religion or any tribe. It's just atrocities. People can become so mean.
Well, that is just, I know you're going to be giving a talk at CAM.
Yeah.
And when will this talk be taking place?
Well, the show, this show, Visible Invisible, which is presently at the California African American Museum, CAM, down at Exposition Park, has opened the 29th of August last year, 2014, and it goes until March 1st, which is my last show there. The 7th, which is next week Saturday, is going to be the final program within the series of the show itself. And this talk is between 2 and 4, and we have Dr. Maury Brilliant, who is a brilliant scientist and geneticist who studied albinism and other genetic variances and traveled the world extensively and speak on this level. He's going to be speaking. Also, Dr. Rebecca Kammer, who is also a low vision specialist and connected greatly with Under the Same Sun and this... Anyway, she has another organization that she connected with in helping people with albinism, because vision is one of the great disabilities that they suffer. The legally blind, the sun in the eyes and all that stuff. So she travels throughout the world and speak on this and help create products and programs to help them. She'll be also there as well. And I think there's a Dr. Clark, who is also from Tanzania, will be speaking with myself next week, the 7th of February.
7th of February.
Between 2 and 4 p.m.
Okay.
At the California African American Museum.
And Moza, how can we support you?
I deal with black arts, which I promote artists from around the world, youth especially, and also our regular people I do Juneteenth, because you see, I'm in a place that I can reach Africa and connect, and I can reach America and connect. And mainly because I'm black, I'm African, and we're all together, so I do that. So I would like to come back to talk to you about the Juneteenth, and we're going to be celebrating 150 years of that.
Oh, well, that is awesome. So I'm going to actually put both your websites underneath this video so people can get in contact with you.
Thank you.
And I thank you guys so much. I think, yes, go ahead. You have one more thing. Go ahead. Totally.
I just want to really thank a few people who
Okay.
have constants, because this takes a great deal of support, and I'll do it very quickly. I want
Okay,
to
go
thank my main sponsor and supporter, CCH Pounder, for lending her continuous support to the project. I thank the curator, Mara Hollingsworth, and her team, Ed and Joaquim at the California African American Museum for the exhibition, and Malena Root from African Millennium Foundation for lending also her support to Africa and here with the Endangered White Project, and all the supporters who have go into their pockets and help to fund this project. And hopefully we can get the show at the UN up and happening for June 13th, which is Albinism Day. Thank you, Moza. That's also your birthday. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. I will, like I said, I will remind people, and please remind me so I can let people know and let people support you guys. So thank you guys so much for being on the show. And as I said, I will put their websites underneath so that we can support this great cause.
Thank
And I very much appreciate you guys being here. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to have Vincent Galen Johnson, who will be up next. Remember, you can listen to LA Talk Live on latalklive.com and the Black Girl Show.com and iTunes R&B and Live 365. So we'll see you in just one moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Tika Lark Fleming, back with the Black Girl Show. And now we have Vincent Galen Johnson. Vincent Johnson received his MFA in Fine Arts and Painting from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California in 1997, and his BFA in Painting from the School of Art and Institute of Chicago in 1986. He is a 2005 Creative Capital grantee and was selected for the New Museum of Contemporary Arts Aldrich Art Award in 2007 and for the Arts Matter grant in 2008 and in 2009 for the Foundation for Contemporary Art Fellowship, Los Angeles. In 2010, he was named a United States Artist Project Artist. I'm so happy to have Vincent here. He's one of my favorite kind of art critics, artists, writers. You do so many things, Vincent. So happy to see you. Happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I have my little trick question.
You're right. Go ahead.
Okay. Where's your favorite place to have breakfast? That's a really easy one.
Right now, it's egg slut at Grand Central Market.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've been I can't try that because everybody knows Tika hates eggs.
I think they have things other than eggs, but it's worth going.
Okay.
The line is long, but still.
The line is long. Well, a lot of people always, we're talking to people like in the Black community. A lot of people say, everything's from Africa, blah, 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 this and the other. But you actually did like a paper. You did a paper, and you talked about Congo copal.
Yes.
And how that connects to art and how it connects to the Congo and Africa. Can you give us a little bit of a brief history?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the last decade of the 19th century. The Belgians went into the Congo and started extracting raw materials. They actually do this first with their own personnel, and then finally they did it with forced labor from the Congolese people. One of the things they uncovered was this raw material called copal, and what it is a resin that is from dead trees, from the trees that are millions of years old. So there's resin in the tree that is live resin, but this is the resin from trees that have fallen and have been in the ground for not centuries but eons. So this material was studied, and the qualities that it had was determined that it could be used as the replacement for what is called in the protective coating industry for exterior house paints, for and that's generally what it was used for. Later on, so it then became a massive industry. So we're talking about the Western world's house paint was made from this. This was the primary binding ingredient in this in the house paint. So what this paint also, as it turned out, shall I say, the material was in a particular type of house paint called Ripolin that was used by Picasso and by Le Corbusier. Okay, so later, if you move into the middle of the 20th century, when you see that the Belgians are still mining this at an extreme rate, and millions of pounds a year, and like I said, through this. The forced labor is through absolute slave labor. Okay, so there's no benefit to the Congolese people. It's used in exterior house paint, interior house paint. It's used in linoleum. It's used in phonographic records. It's used in the conch that was in hair cream. So if you're an African American in, say, the 1950s, and you're playing a record, and you're dancing on the floor, and it's you're in the kitchen and linoleum floor, right? And you're breathing in the air from the paint, the house paint in your wall, what's in your hair. You're actually, all this is happening at the same time, and you're completely unaware of the fact that all these materials, this is coming from the Congo, and that it is modern slavery that was taking place that caused this to happen. The Belgians, when they went into the Congo, they stripped it of its material wealth. Okay, the raw materials. This from the late 19th century. So we go back to that. They took the wood, that wood, and the ivory and the rubber. It caused such wealth to be generated that it elevated the Belgian economy so that they were able to launch an entire new type of Art Nouveau, and so the wood. So when you see Art Nouveau, the wood is from the Congo. When you see the images that these kind of serpentine images, they are borrowed, if you want to call it that, from the images that Congolese people, what we call scarification in the West. Those images were replicated into the Congolese, not only into Belgium, into Art Deco design, but into high fashion as well. Okay, so it had a broad-based effect. So.
And remember to get close to the mic so we can
now, if you go to visual art, what I found out from research, and I have a person that's helping me that's in Europe as well, a little bit. She's the art supply store Selenier, which was the art supply store that's the most historic art supply store in the Western world. This is where Cézanne Van Gogh went to buy art supplies. That if you go on their website right now, they have a Congo copal resin painting medium for sale. So it is, in my mind, there is no doubt about it that there's an unending, continuous stream of use of this material through illicit and or illicit means at throughout its entire history, and that this material was, because it was considered the premier painting medium, that it is that the Western art history is shot through with this material.
For me, that is just when I read this, that was amazing. I'm like, and I'm going to spell it Copal, Copal. So people, if they're Googling or something like that, they can find it. That connection to modern art and even just music and create. And I want to talk, and King Leopold, he was from Belgium. He went into the Congo. If you didn't mine the resources quickly enough, he chopped off your body parts. He mutilated people. There's actually a photo of him. If you put in King Leopold and you put in the Congo, you see a picture of him standing with a child whose arm he cut off. Because he didn't mine fast enough.
That's right. That's right. And they would take the Belgians would cut off Congo people's heads, take the skeletons, this is military officers, Belgian military officers, and line the walls of their apartments in Europe with the skulls of Congo people. Okay? And now, of course, who's the savage?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so every excuse for doing this was that you have no history, you have no writing, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, and therefore that is the reason that gives us cause to launch our our mad desires upon you as a people. Okay, so this one thing is I'm actually didn't come to this looking for this.
Yeah.
I was researching the history of art supply materials.
Who would think it would be that interesting?
The thing is how it unveiled itself was to me was as interesting as what was behind it, which is that if you go onto the websites of major art supply stores and even the Museum of Modern Art, there's a reference to Congo copal. I said, okay, what's the big deal, right? But they don't go, and the art supply stores will say, this material was in use, and now what we have is a synthetic version. It's the original material is no longer available. Why is it no longer available? Well, then you could dig a little bit deeper, and you look on blogs, etc., and there are people chatting and saying, well, it's not available because the Congo is rife with like civil war, or it was, and that's what cut off Western world access to this material. That's not why it's the case. Is it's that the Belgians maintained control of this material even after they assassinated the president of the Congo. Okay, even after that. Okay, so even after they were extricated from the Congo, they continued to have access to this raw material, and to all the raw materials of the Congo. Okay, so. I'll step back. Okay, then in my research, what I found out was there was a gentleman. His name is Frederick Tobes, and he was from Poland. He was an aristocrat, and he started this company with paint technologists or paint scientists, right?
Okay.
And what they did is they wanted to they were looking for something from history. They wanted to recreate the historic, incredible painting medium that the first great Western artists used in Belgium, Jan van Eyck, etc. Okay, this is and people have been searching for this for centuries. So there's a long stream of literature regarding this. They thought that they had come up with the greatest version of that thing, and it became a sensation. In the late 40s, it was selling at 60,000 bottles a year. Now, there's a art supplier in New York that started out in Brooklyn. I'm not going to say their name. There were two brothers after World War II, and this is an international art supply store that is right now. One of the two they decided they wanted to ship Belgian linen, which was used for it's canvas linen, right? For paintings. That was the premier material, and they wanted to have access to it, but no one in New York was selling it. So they decided to open up a shipping operation, right? One of the two brothers apprenticed with Frederick Tobes.
Oh, wow.
So you have the guy who is importing Belgian Congo copal, that's for the painting medium that's going to be used on the Belgian canvases. Okay, that's in New York. This is what's happening.
Well, I have a question, because we're gonna jump to New York. How do you feel about the New York and the Chicago art scenes? Like, which,
well, tomorrow, William L. Pope is on the cover of Art Forum. He was New York based for a while, but he's in Chicago.
I know you're the one you keep telling me about Chicago. So Chicago should be like,
Chicago's on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So what's going on there that's not going on in New York? That's not going on in L.A.
There are things going on in New York that are absolutely amazing, and the volume of New York, obviously, it's beyond compare.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing is that in Chicago, the black artists are the dominant artists in the city.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Is that this is unprecedented. So whether it be Theaster Gates or Kerry James Marshall, William L. Pope, some of the young upcoming artists, it's unbelievable what's going on there. So that's why I'm. So
that's why you're so excited about Chicago. That's why you're always bringing it up.
That's exactly right, because I think because it's like see what people can do.
Yeah, see what people could do if they're all like joined together.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And they work together with the art historians there, the graduate art historians, students, everybody, it's a team. It's a great, tremendous team of support, and so they are where they are because of what they've done.
And I wonder if we could do that. Can you think we could replicate that in Los Angeles? Do you think we can do that? I mean,
Absolutely. Well, there are some people that are making efforts here to replicate some parts of it, but there's well, first of all, the Black Artist Retreat in Chicago is a formalized event that has a structure. And
is that a picture of that?
Actually, no, it's not.
Okay. Okay.
I should have brought the
That's
flyer
okay.
with me. That's okay. But anyway, so they have an organized structure, and I said, but not just that. They have like, let's say, like at the University at the Renaissance Society of the University of Chicago, Hamza Walker is a curator there. Then Huey Copeland teaches at Northwestern, and then you have, and Theaster Gates is running the arts lab at the University of Chicago. So you have people in these major positions of power and authority that can make major decisions regarding arts careers, and the thing that's exciting for us in LA is that Hamza Walker has taken 2 years. He's going sabbatical from the Renaissance Society. He is started tomorrow. He's supposed to be in Chicago, in Los Angeles. So
he's going to be in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's going to be, because he is co-curating the next Made in LA exhibition at the Hammer Museum. So he's here to mine Los Angeles, and that's why the LA artists of color need to
get together,
step up the game, and make him aware of our presence.
So I mean, was that going to be connected with the art and practice, A&P, Mark Bradford's Hammer is all connected?
Absolutely, it could be, but anyway, this is what's in play, right? So art and practice comes into existence. You look on their website; it says to give to make the invisible visible. I mean there's nothing more clear to me to be said than that. I think. Okay, so that's a platform, and other platforms here are developing. So things are looking up here too.
Yeah, I think they are looking up. I think and what about? What are some new works that you are working on? I mean, I have some of your work.
Well, it's kind of like I said. I actually didn't get sidetracked, but I had continued to explore. I'm exploring abstract painting after having worked in photography for a long number of years because of the dearth of abstract painting in Los Angeles by African Americans that has been acknowledged by not just the art market, but by the art world. Okay? And so there's all this mythology regarding about what it means to make abstraction, etc. And then there's conversation about how few African Americans are involved in that, in that discourse, right? In the production of these materials. So there's a handful who are up on extreme high levels in the culture, but then others, beyond that, it's very, very thin in terms of like the number of people who are actually being acknowledged as versus the number of people who actually work in it. So one of the things that I want to be able to do is get to work with artists here through a platform that we would have to start having exhibitions of abstract work by African American artists that is written about. I certainly can write about it, and then to promote that work in every way we can. So, it's just something that I feel it as imperative, not just necessary, but imperative, because I said that if you look at what's going on right now, there's the main two types of art is conceptual art and abstract art, and those are both the art of the you can call the contemporary French art academy. This is what's taking on that being in play. This is what's in play now, and this is what's that is most pursued by collectors and the museum world, the curatorial world. So we just we need to be part of that.
Who is this is probably a hard question because you probably can't answer this question. I want to say, who is the most exciting artist right now? It could be just anywhere, all over the world. Who do you think who's the most exciting to you?
That's alive. Most exciting.
That's alive.
Oh, exciting. goodness, that's an unfair question. But I'm gonna go. Okay, well, I'm gonna just talk about what experience. I'm gonna say it's Anselm Kiefer,
Okay.
the German. He's a painter, but he doesn't use paint. He mines raw materials from the earth. Or he has a team of people who mine raw materials. He works out of these massive buildings, like department stores, 300,000 square foot buildings. And we saw his retrospective in London most recently, and these are like magisterial works. So the physicality of them, the objects that are appended to them, like giant. It looks like some of them look like battleship material. Some looks like books. That is like hand hewn metal. So to me, that he's a tremendous artist, and I've seen his work for a while. So that's the person actually I look to like the most in terms of like him he's literally mining the history of Germany.
Yes, literally mining. Yeah,
and so that to me is like really exciting.
I love how you're very kind of like, okay, you're literal and you're like figurative at the same time. But even your work is kind of like, okay, I'm doing this industrial thing, but it's it's a very interesting perspective in how you see the world and how you describe it. So I mean, wow. Is there what? Because we're getting ready to wrap up.
Okay.
Is there a show that you're going to be doing or anything coming up?
Well, I'm working with Shell Barbora with Autonomy Projects, and we have an exhibition that we're working on now. And then sometime later this year, I'll show my work at Autonomy Projects.
Okay.
So that's what's going on right now. But I'm also working on artist books and writing, and also I did present my research material to the Getty Research Institute for their art and materiality grant, which is for this September through the next year, and I'll find out in a few months whether or not I'm going to be invited to participate in that.
I really hope you do, because I don't understand why you wouldn't, because you actually have an interesting perspective. We have stuff that I would be interested in knowing about.
So it's core to the history of art. So especially history of modernism. So
So thank you so much, and wow, I thought that was an exciting, fast-filled show. So I just have, of course, the Black Grrrl Book Fest is going to be on March 7th. You're choosing freedom through choosing to cooperate. Our guests for next week will be Lisa Teasley and Najuli. Najuli and I are working on a project together, and it will be revealed on February 7th, so you guys will be very excited to see this new project. So, please, remember to tune in at 3 p.m. Saturday Pacific Standard Time here, same place, same time. Or you could, you can use my YouTube channel. You can also hashtag me at Twitter, Facebook. Hashtag BLKGRRL, Black Grrrl. So this is Tika Lark Fleming signing off, and thank you so much for joining us. She spit, it's nothing but a